I gave you all period yesterday to work on the interface. And if you say, oh, I didn't do it, then you didn't do it. All right? But you'll notice here, if I come here, and I've shown you this before, but I want you to see it. This will show my customers. This, because I didn't fix the thing, is going to show my orders. That's fine. I can click here to insert a customer, here to insert an order, here to update a customer, here to update an order, here to delete a customer, here to delete an order. Does all that make sense? That's the idea behind it. All right. So let's just start with right here with show customers. And this is the first handout that you have in here, okay, I believe, right here. And yeah, I kept the comments in there because I want you to at least know what everything is doing. No one's asked, but no, you don't have to type in those comments. I guess I'd prefer if you did, but if you don't, you don't. What you are actually creating, if you get this to work, is a real live working relational database management system which allows you to show records, insert records, update records, and delete records. If you don't like my colors, my design, make it your own. That's great. No problem with that. All right, so this basically right here, if you don't understand this or if you think, yeah, you never explained that. Well, this right here is the actual database. It's where that database is actually located. And if you go, how did you get that? The way that you can get that, the easiest way, and you've seen me do this before, is to right mouse click on the name of your database, choose open, which opens up in here the database in the Server Explorer. If you do that and you right mouse click on it, on the database, and you choose properties, then you'll notice way over here is exactly what I just showed you. There's the connection string. You should copy it exactly as it's shown right there. The one that I gave you, this one, don't use that one unless that's exactly where yours is. If you saved it someplace else, you need your own connection string. All right, but that's how we're connecting to the database, right there. So again, if yours is different, make sure you make the change. Several commands that you use in C#, you have to put an @ sign at the beginning. That's the syntax of the language. I didn't make the rule up. This is one of those commands. So this will be our database connection string. All right? When we connect, we're going to call it con. Calling this connection string, calling this con, calling this command, etc. Those are names I came up with. They don't have to be that name. But if you change the name, you're going to have to change them everywhere in the code as well. All right? So when we actually start writing commands, remember we write commands as C# strings. All right? When we do that, those commands will go into that variable called command. All right? We're doing two select statements in here. One select statement that will allow us to read all of the records for orders. One that will allow us to read all of the records for customers. All right? Since there's select statements and we're not trying to change them, we use a data reader. Do you have to do that? No. That's what's recommended. That's read only. It's a reader. So that's what we're going to use for that. All right? The actual SQL command that we stick inside of a string, I just called it SQL. All right? And this output that's right here is what we show. All right, that's what we show again in the message box. All right? Okay. So what do? We come in here. This is when we click the show button for the customer data. So we create a new connection. We open the connection. We do our select statement. We load that into our command. We execute that command. We go through every record that gets returned, and we stick it into the output. All right? Again, if you're planning on doing this, please look up on the screen. All right? this line, right, see this right here where I am, private, void, I don't know where that is on yours. It's either on the bottom of the first page or the top of the second page. Please add a line in there. Add output equals, and set it equal to the empty string. If you don't, every time you run it, it's going to keep adding stuff to that output thing. I forgot to do that. All right? So, and you're going to have to do it with the other one too. It's just, you have to add that line twice. All right? Now, when you look at all this, just so you know, I ran this, it works. Did you hear me? I ran it and it works. But if you want to run this and have it work the way it really should work, so to speak, what I should have done is I should have come here and put in try. You've seen this before. And then at the very bottom, right after I close the connection, I should have put, so that should be in a try catch block. Why? Because anytime you're working with databases, it can be problematic. I wish I'd have done that. I didn't realize I didn't do it until right now. And when you get done, every time you have a try, you need a catch. And all you have to put in there then is something like messagebox.show.ex.message, which says if there's an error, please just print it out. That's all it's going to do. And believe it or not, when I was writing this, and if you think, well, this thing sucks, this is 100% mine. I didn't get it from anybody. All right? I watched a bunch of videos, but I didn't like the way they did a lot of their stuff. So I did it my own way. All right. Then the same thing with the other one. So again, you have to come up to the beginning of your show orders, put in here output equals double quote, same thing. Right at the beginning of your show order button, click. Add that line. Then again, come in here, put in a try block. Right after the con.close. So close it. Put in a catch block. It worked without this. It is better with this. All right? It's more written the way it should be written. All right? I think it was Lauren who came up to me yesterday and was asking about this. And I want to make sure, it was a good question that you all understand. All of these, every one of these things that's left in here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And we can grab any one, so I'll just grab the first one. What happens, that's when you click those 6 buttons. Insert customer, insert order, update customer, update order, delete customer, delete order. When you click any one of them, you hide the current form. You create a new instance of the form that you want to open, and you open it. Does that make sense? Is that the only way to do this? No. But I tried to come up with what I considered to be the most straightforward way of doing it. I don't know if I succeeded or not. Now, that said, remember, if you go back to this, you have to come back in here, and again, I apologize for this. You have to add output equals double quote, at the beginning of each click routine. So the click routine for button show customer data and the click routine for button show order data. Add that, plus take all of the code that's currently in the routine and put it inside of a try block. Finally, add the catch at the end. Are there any questions about that? I'm not saying does it totally make sense. But anything I just went over for this routine, are there any questions? All right, then I'm going to save this. I want to close stuff because I've got way too much stuff open here. And I'm going to jump over to the insert customer. All right, so I want to jump over to this one right here. You'll notice the customer table has 4 fields. I'm only showing 3 of the 4 fields here. I am not showing the customer ID. Since we made it an identity field, it's automatically filled in for us. Does that make sense? All right. And quite often, that's what people do with the primary key. They make it a field, customer ID, order ID, or they just call it ID, and they make it an identity field. You don't have to do that, but it's much better. You're letting the relational database management system then figure all that stuff out so you don't have to. All right. So here's the code. Much of it will look the same. Not all of it, of course, but much of it. Notice we again have to create our connection string. Not going to go over that because we already did. All right. So what is this? Well, this is the code that runs if we click that button to go back to our original form. So what are we doing? Hiding the current form, creating an instance of our main form, and showing that instance. I'm not going to say, does that make sense? We just went over that. All right. You've got this routine in all of those. All right. So this is what happens when you do the save. Now you'll notice I did put it here into a try catch. All right. But what did I do here? Well, the one field that's in here that's required is a company name. Did everybody hear me? All right. So in other words, when I go back to this, just like we did before, I want you to see this. And I go to tables, and I go to customers, and I say open table definition right here. This is the thing we did in class. All right. And notice in here, I'll just use this one because you can see the text is pretty big here. All right. The customer ID is automatically filled in for us. But notice, company name cannot be null. You cannot leave that blank. All right. You can leave either the contact name or the phone number or both blank because they say null. They don't say not null. All right. So what I did here was I checked for a null company name. And that routine literally just says, if you left it blank, give them a message box, set the focus there, and return false. There's no sense in going on. But if you did put in a company name, return true. Now, one thing I did not do in here that would have been a good idea. You can run this, and you've already seen that, for example, Facebook is in there. I could put Facebook in again because I'm not checking for a duplicate company name. That would have probably been a good idea to do that. If I would have checked for everything I really should check for, this would have been at least double the amount of code it is, if not more than that. All right. So, assuming that you did put in a valid company name there, what do we want to do? Well, we've got some variables here. Company, that's going to be whatever you put in a company name. Contact is whatever you put into that contact text box. And phone is whatever you put into there. So, in other words, that becomes company, that becomes contact, that becomes phone. All right, that's what these 3 lines do. Then what do? We come in, we create the connection, we open it. Now, fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to say, when you look at this, this is ugly as hell. This is one of the reasons people don't like to write code this way, because you have to enclose everything in single quotes and or double quotes. And it gets really, really, really ugly. And if you miss one, the whole thing doesn't work. You've got the code here on yours to take a look at it. But what it's saying in English is insert into customers. Grab everything in the company name, contact name, and phone, and put it in there. And then automatically also add the customer ID for us. Throw that into command. Notice this is not a data reader because we are physically changing what's in the database. You cannot physically change with a data reader. I already talked to you and told you that a select statement cannot be used to change the database. And insert not only can, it does. So notice also here, before we did an execute reader command. Now we're doing an execute non-query. Again, I'll let you read your own stuff on that. Why do they do it that way? Because they do it that way. All right? I mean, that's a dumb reason, but that's why they do it. So if it worked, it should say successful insert, and it should close everything. If it didn't work, there was an error. So when you look at this, if I go back and run this, let's click insert customer. The name must be put in there, right? Let's leave it out. I'm going to click insert. See where it says company name cannot be empty? That got caught in my routine. All right, so it just stops. And it says record insert aborted. It just stopped because there was an error. All right, so let's come in there and let's go in and I'm going to put in Jeff Scott Incorporated. So I put in all the information, clicked insert. Notice record inserted. It takes everything and it clears it out in case I want to insert another record. All right. So I'm going to go back to the main form and I'm going to show my customers. And if you look on the bottom, there's the one I just added right there. All right. So that's insert. And again, well, yeah, that just makes sense. You're doing an insert. Does anybody have any overall questions on what I just showed you? Then I'm going to jump over, I'm going to close the insert, and I'm going to jump over to the update. And it's going to look similar. All right, in that, do my connection string. This right here is going to hold my customer ID for me. But if you look up on the screen, it is different in that, where is it? No, where is it? There it is. It is different in that this field, the top field there, is a drop-down field. It's a combo box. So I want to make sure I fill up the combo box. With what? It's just going to put in the customer ID in there. I probably should have done it for name, but I did it for ID. All right? So that's what we're going to do in here. So if we look at the code, the first thing we do right inside of form update customer, wow, form update customer, form update customer. See that? Anybody remember what this thing is called when you have a method that's in a class that's the same name as the class? What is that? Anybody want to guess? It's a constructor. It's what runs when the class gets instantiated. All that we've ever put in there has been initialized component. But now we're adding our own routine that's called fill combo box. Not to be funny, but it fills the combo box. All right, create the connection, do a select star, and then what are we doing? Same kind of stuff we did before. It's a data reader, but the key thing is the line is right here. This says grab that customer ID and keep putting customer IDs in the combo box as long as I've got customer IDs. So fill the combo box with all the customer IDs. It's exactly what it's saying. right? The go back one we already talked about. I mentioned that's in every routine. All right. This is what happens every time we select a different customer ID. So when it's running and we select a different customer ID, we have to fill this with that customer's data. All right. So that's what this here is doing. And then finally, we've got what happens when you click save. Notice, do you really want to update this customer? Which you might think, that's a stupid name. Yeah, but it's pretty self-documenting. So we're about to update a customer, and we ask the user, are you sure you want to do that? And if they say yes, we do it. If they say no, we don't do it. So all that routine does is it asks you. This is the same routine we've been using all semester. You know, do you want to exit this program? But we're saying if you said yes, return true, otherwise return false. All right? And again, notice how ugly this update command is. All right? I don't make the rules, I just try to play by them. So again, if I come in here and write this routine, run the program and try to run this routine, I'm going to go to update customer. And the last one is the one I just put in, and there's my information. All right, I've changed the name of my company to JPS Incorporated. All right, and I want my contact name to be my entire name, and I'm going to, let's just say I change this to, boom. So I changed all those. I click update. It says, are you sure you want to do the update? If I said no, it would abort it, but I'm going to say yes. It says it's been updated. Again, it clears it out in case I've got another record I want to update. I go back to my main form. I show my customers, and there it's been changed to JPS Incorporated, Jeffrey P. Scott, and the phone number's changed. Does all that make sense? You know, again, you'll have to take a look at the code, hopefully, and then it will really make some sense to you. All right? And then the last thing that is in there is the delete. Delete and update are very similar. They're almost the same thing, except you have to change the delete, the update and the command to delete, and you have to change the command syntax a little. But again, we start with our connection string. We fill up our combo box. All right. And we come through there. We select star from customers. We fill it up. It's pretty much the same thing. Notice, do you really want to delete this customer? So it's done the same way. So the delete command is actually easier. It's just delete from customers where the ID is the one that we chose. So again, if I run this and I come down to delete customers, click here, bring in JPS Incorporated, it fills it up. I want to delete that. It says, do you really want to? It also gives you a message that says you might have a problem if you try to delete a customer and that customer has orders. I don't have any orders because I just put me in there. So yes. All right, record deleted, boom, everything's gone. I go back to the main form, I show my customers, and you notice that my record is gone. All right? So what you decide to do with this is up to you. I already gave you your options. Are there any questions on anything we just went over? All right, you've got lab then the rest of today. You've got lab Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. All right, even if you're all caught up, I still have to take attendance. So even if you're all caught up and you're saying, you know, I'm just going to take option 1 you gave before, fine, then do that. But you're still expected to be here, especially if you've got 6 or more absences. All right? That's all I've got.